Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about why men are better leaders than women are. I'm not going to go into all the, different facets and details of why men are better than women at leading, but we're going to get into just a few, crucial points that I want to make. And you're going to have to listen through this, entire video for it to really make sense. I'm going to tie in, a few different pieces of information, and it's all going to make sense by the end. So men essentially are better at assessing the problems of women than women are at assessing the problems of men. So let me say that once again. It's very important. Men are better at assessing the problems of women than women are at assessing the problems of men. So you could call this maybe pattern recognition. Men have better pattern recognition than women do. What I mean by pattern recognition is the ability to source through data and information to find patterns and regularities. Okay? So one of the points of contention between men and women today in our modern society that comes to my mind is whether a woman should work in a career or should she stay at home with her children and aid her husband and by tending to house duties or helping. Maybe her husband has a business and she's helping her husband with certain things in his business, or just being a stay-at-home mother and taking care of the kids and tending to regular house duties. This is what women did before feminism came along, before the 60s and the sexual revolution and feminism and all the different things that got instituted within society that changed it to where we are today in the mid 2020s. It's completely changed, right? So a smart man, I think, can assess that a woman is better suited to stay at home and fulfill her natural duties of her biology while he performs his natural duties of his biology by earning income, protecting his family, leading and ensuring that his family is essentially taken care of. And it makes sense that instead of women, slaving away for corporate America or another business or another man in a coat, whatever it may be, that the woman would instead provide value to the man that she's actually romantically invested in, that's actually the father of her kids, because aiding him would result in her benefit as well. Working as a unit is better than working separately. The family unit is the foundation of a community. And so you're essentially breaking up that family unit into an independent relationship. So when you lose that family unit, your system becomes compromised and weakened. The morals, the values, the coherence within the culture gets weakened when you have the family unit disrupted. So it's obvious if you research all this throughout history that quote unquote women's independence is a false promise that actually worsens women's physical and mental stability as well as the family unit. And the family unit is very important here. Okay, it actually further benefits the very patriarchy that feminists claim is oppressing them in the first place by materialism. It's essentially promoting that women enter the workforce for materialistic gains or independence. And so what is the purpose of this, right? Well, the purpose of more people, or women in this case, entering the workforce is to exponentially increase the amount of consumer goods and products being distributed. And what does that do? That also increases the profit a business can make. And so profit equals more consumerism and production. And ultimately, it results in power by a select few group of people or individuals, or an individual even in a lot of cases. And so system is purported to be quote unquote evil or opposition, is the system that these feminists are feeding without awareness. They think that they are liberating themselves from the patriarchy, from enslavement, but they are furthering enslaving themselves. They don't recognize this, though. Now, so going back to pattern recognition, they don't recognize this pattern at all. And with the average woman in our society today latches onto this mind virus of female empowerment and liberation, it's the tool that liberates them. It's female empowerment. The reason most women fall for this trap, I would call it a trap, is because they let their feeling dominate their ability to accurately evaluate information, or by thinking. I mean, men do this as well too. I'm not saying that they don't. But on average, women are led more by their feeling than their thinking. Men are generally better at thinking through a set of information and coming up with solutions for that information that they're gathering. So thinking and pattern recognition are correlated. So it's not a surprise that men would be better suited to be the primary decision makers. Because we all know that, emotions cloud judgment. So the more someone's emotions are triggered, the more their feeling sensation is triggered, the more emotionally volatile they are. And it just so happens that women are also on average more emotionally volatile than men are. And they see the world through this narrow perspective, dominated by how they feel. So tying this back now to female empowerment and independence, women have been persuaded through feminist propaganda to feel a certain way. And it's all in order to control their actions and their decisions. So what does this result in? It results in women entering the workforce, flooding the workforce, becoming independent from men and liberating them. But they didn't ever question whether this decision was made through rational inquiry, or was it made through intense emotions and feelings. I'd obviously argue they make this through their feelings and emotions. Okay, so their capacity for pattern recognition and appropriate decision making is being subverted by letting their emotions drive their actions and judgment. And I'm not denigrating women by saying that, they're just these emotional creatures. They can't make decisions. They can't lead themselves, and they're inferior. I'm just saying that this is how God made us. This is just how we are. This is how He made us differently than one another. Women and men are complements to one another, and we're very different. It's not to be taken as a pathology, but rather a fact of nature. It just is the way it is. This is the way. So to wrap everything up, to conclude this video, this is why, historically and throughout history, men have been the primary decision makers and leaders of groups and collectives. They can navigate intense and complex systems without the emotional volatility that breaks down a team or group under pressure.